welcome back to the LCK, DAMWON versus DRX. I am LCK Lone Soldier. Welcome back, Valdez.
Yeah, my mic was muted. Rookie mistake. Still getting used to the at-home casting, of course, the remote broadcast. And I feel like DragonX are getting used to losing. It doesn't feel like that's something that they would normally have to deal with, but DAMWON actually just turned it around, outdrafted them, outplayed them in game number 2. And now we're left wondering, going into game number 3, like, who is the team that's in the lead here? Who should be expected to get ahead? And I think it's still DragonX. I'm curious what you think, LS.
I think DragonX as well should probably still be the favorites going into this game. The last draft was really, really rough for them in the event that they would ever be even or fall behind. And the early game was really crucial. We outlined that from the get-go. The Azir, the bot lane, the Olaf should have all been really working together to maintain control of the early game. And that just never really happened. As player of the game, it goes over to Ghost, 8-2-4 on the Misfortune. And doing, obviously, boatloads of damage in this game. Very enabled by the Zilean, by the Yuumi. And very little resistance by DragonX. Their team comp doesn't really have a way to stop this kind of a combination.
Yeah, it's incredibly impressive, especially once you get this far ahead. You and I did give the votes over to the Zilean. We feel like he was really the enabler for that, but the entirety of the Korean broadcast did vote for Ghost, whereas 2 observers sided with us and 1 sided with the Korean casters, which makes it a 5 out of 9, just barely giving Ghost the win there. So this time around, the observers and us are actually on the same page.
Well, it little bit surprising how close the player of the game votes have been in these 2 games here tonight. We'll see what can end up happening, obviously, in Game 3. And I think the thing that's so surprising about that Game 2 is that it was a blowout in DAMWON's favor after such a miserable Game number 1 by them. So they really managed to remain stable, bring it back, and now, what do we even think about DRX in that Game number 2? Are they able to chalk it up to just variance or bad luck happening in the early stages, or are they going to get affected by this going into game number 3? Because we all know that DRX historically, even in the earlier stages of the split, were one of the more tiltier teams.
That really is the question, which is why I was curious for your opinion, because DragonX on paper definitely should be favored, but anything goes here in a best of 1. As DragonX now on blue side here. Let's see if we get similar bans to game number 1. And if Ornn gets picked, I feel like that was ignored in game number 1 from what I could remember. But similar bans to start us off.
Jace being banned away by DragonX. DAMWON obviously responding with the Zoe. Will we have Kalista? Or, okay, we're gonna get Corki banned away again. And these are really peculiar blue side bans. They're clearly aimed at something directly on the side of DAMWON, not really pertaining to the meta almost whatsoever. As Senna now gets banned away, will Aphelios bite the dust this time around? DRX might just ban Kalista on blue side.
Yeah, DragonX seemed to really hate Corki. Not sure exactly why. Obviously, it is coming back bit by bit. But to show 3 bans now in 3 games is definitely showing where their head is at in terms of that champion. And once again, Kalista gets banned, and Varus gets banned, and that leaves Aphelios available. I don't know why they would consider Varus stronger than Aphelios at this point in time, but that's the second time they've done it for DAMWON.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the reasoning would be either. as DAMWON now respond with Set and Ezreal. On the right-hand side for them, Trundle now going to get locked in here by DRX, and yet again, Azir being hovered. And I find this so interesting. Obviously, Chovy playing a lot more Azir this split, but historically used to actually be pretty vocal about his distaste, or his dislike, generally, for Azir as a champion. And yes, Azir is in the meta right now, it just doesn't feel like a very Chovy kind of champion. And when in game number 1, he picked the LeBlanc, he was pretty comfortable to do it blind. It's so surprising that apparently he doesn't want to do it here.
I don't know what changed. I don't know how game number 2 was more convincing than game number 1. But I guess I was about to say that maybe he wants to create some kind of specific composition, but we know that the players don't necessarily like to prioritize that many times. Again, example, game number 2. Sylas is going to be picked up here in the mid lane, you'd have to imagine. You see that a lot into the Azir, and this time DAMWON does not want to deal with Keриa's Thresh.
Sylas and Set both flex picks right now. Set can obviously go mid, top, support. Even some players in solo queue around the world are playing him in jungle. Sylas able to go mid, top, and jungle as well, so it is pretty difficult for DRX to assume what could be going on. And so they ban away the Zilean. Another dual flex champion, Aatrox now, is going to bite the dust.
And there is one guy that I've noticed has gone totally untouched so far. It is Ornn. I feel like that would be a pretty nice response from the side of DragonX. Yes, there can be flexes. You throw the Set down into the bottom side into support. But you're going to get another look at what DAMWON are going to pick fourth here. And I don't know, it feels like something that would go very well with what they already have in their composition. You add a lot of engage. You add even more scaling for the Azir Aphelios combo, and it has a pretty good lane into the Set at the same time. But who knows? Maybe we'll just see Renekton again.
Could be the case, Aldous, and I would be extremely excited if that would end up happening. Alright, Akali getting locked in by DAMWON, and Akali versus Azir is a really rough matchup if the Azir is really good. And even Set versus Azir is pretty good against Set, so these flexes are leaving me scratching my head a little bit, trying to make sense of what is going on. Braum now being hovered and locked in by DRX. And what are DRX going to blind now? Or not even blind, but what are they going to pick knowing that it could be going up against either Set, Sylas, or Akali? And that's the big question. 3 seconds.
Definitely rough choice, and Karma is going to be the selection here for the top lane for DragonX.
So I mentioned this before, I believe, in one of the patch note rundowns, that Karma actually received a couple of buffs, and she did get tuned a little bit, and it's almost brought her back to her old state, when she was picker ban, when she was the neutralizing champion up in top lane. And I was really surprised no one around the world was actually picking her. And here she's coming in now in the DragonX series. She's going to go top lane, and she is able to neutralize the Set, the Sylas, and the Akali. And that's mostly what her role is. So it's a utility champion that makes it so that the opponent isn't really all that effective. And then Karma, no stranger to scaling. She is really strong in the later stages. DAMWON with a very wonky team composition that is with a pretty heavy emphasis on individual skill and individual ability to sort of get ahead and try to outplay your opponents.
Otherwise known as Sin.
Well, I don't want to say this is totally Sin here, because
I know.
they have a lot of scaling, and the other thing about it, though, is versus DRX's composition, it really screams mid-range. This is, when I think of a mid-rangey type of team composition, I think DAMWON's is basically a spitting image of it.
It certainly looks like a ball of death in the mid lane, especially if they can start off well. Of course, Brad, being last picked here by good old Chad Beryl, is he's going to try to make that bot lane hell for the Aphelios and Braum and finally try to take advantage of one of these melee tanky supports that we have been calling for with the mage support, and finally does come in. So we'll see if they can make the difference down in the bot lane.
Well, see what the opening is going to be here. If it's just going to be a 5-point start for both of the parties. Some question marks going down onto Ghost. Not really sure what maybe the teammates were talking about. And it is going to be a 5-point opening for both teams. No one willing to take any risk. And the way that it currently stands is DragonX, I would say that not only do they have a better cohesive draft, they just have better stages of almost each, or they have a better stage of the game at each point, early, mid, and late. Because even in the mid game, which is when DAMWON's team composition really starts to flourish, there's just so much shielding and defensiveness that's able to be used by DRX that it really invalidates a lot of the hard-on engage that DAMWON wants to try to accomplish, and it's going to leave the Ezreal sort of as the lone champion that's going to be able to try to do anything unless DRX really messes up.
We take a look at the runes there for just a split second. Don't want to give you guys too much information. As now, we will actually give you the full information. We do have one Scorch in the game. That is the Karma against a melee champion in the top side. You could imagine the Gathering Storm would be pretty nice for the later game for the Karma, but if she really wants to be a lane bully, this is another choice that we oftentimes do see up in the top side. And it's going to be really annoying for Nuggery to deal with that Karma. I do also like the Karma as a kind of Zilean light. You know, he doesn't have the res, but she has the speed boost plus a lot more shielding, so it's like support in a different kind of way. As Zilean, you know, mainly in game number 2, he wasn't doing the majority of the damage, but he was enabling so much damage and advantages and utility in the game. And Karma will be offering the same there from the top.
Yeah, we'll see how this matchup. Okay, we got a pretty hefty trade here.
Look at Pyoshi, he's just running through the turret. No, you do not. There's the amazing pillar. Oh, he's nearly going to get away. Let's try one more time. The answer is going to be... Oh, that was close. Pyoshi.
Well,
interesting. I mean, doesn't matter, though. That was a sick setup, how they were able to make that happen.
Yeah, they made that work so well, and that was a really great pillar. I'm not even sure how the second Magical Journey activation even works. I would have thought that it would just kick them out again, but there's a mechanic there that I'm just really not understanding.
I think it's because when he places
the
Trundle
pillar deals it.
Right?
I'm not. Yeah, I guess it displaces them in the moment. I'm just gonna be completely honest. I don't know how the mechanic works. I'm sure the collective knows, or other people, maybe Bard enthusiasts, are aware of how that goes down. But nonetheless, it was a really good setup by Pyoshik, running down, taking the turret shots. And you can tell DAMWON, they probably weren't anticipating that. They probably thought they were completely safe with the Magical Journey. And we'll take a look at it one more time. Not sure why from this camera angle, but we can't see the Trundle running in. Magical Journey gets cast, and then watch the pillar. It rips them right out of it and allows for everyone to get on. And it almost looks like they didn't know if they could even retake it. They do. And then right at the very end, you can see Deft actually clicked backwards, and it looked like he wasn't going to be able to get it. And that's why Pyoshik flashed.
This
I'll
is
go.
a crazy
트런들 높여, 바드 높여, 바드 높여.
gank, by the way.
이제까지 볼게. 이제 한번 탄다, 한번 탄다, 한번 탄다 이거.
쏠 수 있어.
나이스, 나이스, 나이스.
Yeah,
둘 다 잡자, 둘 다 잡자, 둘 다.
you can
한 대.
stop it.
바드, 바드,
nice.
바드.
슬로우 못 쳤어. 슬로우 못 쳤어.
나이스 기둥.
잡았어.
I got him. He said, like,
It's like,
sorry. Like, almost like sorry, yeah.
Yeah. My bad.
Yeah. Well, nonetheless, the Aphelios is really strong right here. 2-0-0 down in the bot lane.
You see his scoreline?
Some might.
2-0-0.
Yeah, I mean, it really does look like 200.
Yeah, it's strange how those numbers line up in that manner. It's almost like it was meant to be. The Trundle tried to stop it from happening, but it didn't quite pan out. Barrel looks like he's going to be fine. They're not going to attack him here. Pyosik and Keria very much trying to put on the pressure after they basically just blew the lane open in the bottom side. The Ezreal is actually going to get ahead in CS after he cleans up this wave, which is not what you would expect, but you know, he's still down 2 kills as Chovy just gonna pop Showmaker away, trading ult for ult here.
And the camera does pan up to the top lane, which is peek at Karma versus Set, and it has to be a really annoying lane for Set. There's no way to really move Karma, and then because of how good her sustain is, it's not even like Set can actually whittle away at her. So even though he's not ever really going to be prone to dying, it's just one of those matchups that it's so aggravating. And it's probably very frustrating also for Nuguri, even himself. I don't know how much he's maybe played the matchup, given that it's not super popular, as he might even die right now.
Oh, well, he's trying to delay it as much as possible. Goes for the flash, but just gets burned down. Canyon also making his way up here. Looks like Pyosik is going to be the sacrificial lamb to get Doran to safety. Top laners still having their teleports, so the lane just going to be pushed out there by the Akali. And just a 1-for-1 in the end, but the Akali did miss some CS in the mid lane as another trade in the bottom side. They really can't even get close to the lane now.
Yeah, and one of the things that I do want to point out, though, is that Showmaker, he manages to go up to top lane, but he's doing such a good job in the CS department. This really is not how the lane should typically be going. Chovy is down right now. He does have his teleport still in his pocket. He has the Lost Chapter as he's returning. DRX just continuing to shove the bot lane in over and over and over. They should manage to get a plate here now, finally, as Ghost takes a little bit of chip damage, doesn't quite have his turret up, or his teleport back up yet, as you can see Pyosik making his way onto the right-hand side. He feels comfortable doing this, knowing that his bot lane has priority as Zir just returned into the mid lane. And so nothing should really go too wrong. And, you know, even with everything else going on, probably wouldn't be that bad of an opportunity to try to look to pick up the Mountain Drake, because you know Ghost has no mana, doesn't have teleport, Barrel needs to recall himself, and your Azir has total domination over mid lane right now, and he can play right-hand side pocket. So I would be pretty surprised not to see Pyosik pick up the dragon within the next minute or so.
Yeah, of course he can clear his jungle first, get those resets going, but we do take a look here at the replay. Pretty straight up, he just didn't have vision in the river, and Doran was able to lock him down, so that does create that play, but Canyon was on the way, and Showmaker did have to blow his flash just to pick up the 1-for-1, so they kind of make the most of a good gank from DragonX to try to pull something back for DAMWON. As now Canyon, I believe he may have even seen Pyosik going into that dragon pit with the ward expertly placed by DAMWON, and he's just going to take down Shelly extremely early.
Well, Pyosik did manage to pick up the Mountain Dragon. We'll see what they can do with Shelly. This is, like you said, an extremely early capture. I don't even know where they're going to utilize her. Most likely on mid-turret would be the best, because otherwise you're never getting any damage onto Azir's turret. Canyon also moving into the blue. Now this is a little bit risky. Azir has prio in mid, and you must know that Pyosik has to be moving over here because the Dragon did end up going down. It would only make sense for him to be around here. And you can see he's chasing out Canyon, and they want to give the blue over to Chovy. Piotrek also didn't even have the smite, not that Canyon would know that. And now they're fighting over a scuttle.
Yeah, Carry actually gets here first. That's a big Emperor's Divide. They immediately take Silas out of the fight, turning this into a 4-on-3. Make that 2. Can they pick up anything else? The Magical Journey comes in, trying to save Beryl and Showmaker, who will flash the wall. Beryl quite fast on the Bard with his Swifties. As meanwhile, he had to leave the bottom lane, and one-on-one, of course, Deft is going to win in that lane. So all across the board, big wins here for DragonX.
Yeah, these are super big. They end up stunting basically all of the control and the priority that DAMWON might have been able to get going for them off that Herald capture, and it was off the back of Canyon being super greedy, coin flipping whether or not Piotrek would be running over to the blue buff. He ends up getting caught. They turn onto the Scuttle Crab, and I don't even know why he's even bothering with the Scuttle Crab at this point. You know that everyone's in such close proximity. They had Beryl here as well, but like you said, a really good Emperor's Divide. Canyon dies before being able to do anything. Nuguri dies in the middle of the Superflex, and then it was Showmaker and Beryl just trying to hightail it out of there. Ends up having to use the flash on the Akali, and these are really problematic things that are happening here in this game number 3. DRX, they find themselves with a 3,000 gold advantage, and Valdez, we also have, finally, a good Dragon Soul that's going to be on the menu. It'll either be Infernal or Ocean, both of which are super good for DragonX. Obviously, if they get Ocean Dragon, I think it's probably going to be impossible for DAMWON's team composition to ever do anything, whereas Infernal, you could still wombo combo DRX and manage to kill them.
Yeah, they need a lot to go right before that does even open itself up as an opportunity to DAMWON, of course. Nice avoidance of the gank that time around. Chovy's Azir looking a bit better compared to game 2, rather. So he's just going to skirt away. Nuguri still hating this top lane. This is definitely one of the most annoying lanes to play against, because there's just never going to be a chance unless your jungle comes. As speaking of which, taking the turret aggro here is Doran, and just accepts his fate there at the end and says, yep, I'm just going to die.
That's pretty nice right now for DAMWON. They need whatever sort of small edges they can end up getting here, as they're not gonna, or Nuguri backed up actually pretty far amount. Didn't look like he wants to go for turret plate. I think he's still not gonna commit to getting the turret plate. So the indecisiveness ends up resulting in him not getting anything, and even Piotrek turns, I can't make sense of anything that's happening. There was 4 minions, which is quite a bit of XP, and it's effectively a jungle camp. You know that the Gromp's coming up, and Piotrek turns around like he has a hot date to get to somewhere else on the map, but there's nothing else to do while he's waiting for his Gromp. So he could have just picked up the CS underneath the turret, gotten the XP. There's nothing to worry about concealing where he could be. Doran, like you said, he takes up the turret aggro. There was really no living for him. And at this point, DRX, they're still pretty far ahead, 45 seconds until Cloud Dragon comes up. They should be the ones that do end up getting that. I would be surprised if DAMWON contests.
Yeah, I don't believe they will. They have a decent amount of vision around that area. You can see double control ward, a ward over the Dragon Pit, and even a third control ward on the actual dragon himself. So they're at least going to slow down an attempt from DragonX as they try to take out a bunch of the vision to make their way into that objective. And until that does happen, which, as I was talking about, this is one of the cases where you might want to take that Cloud Drake and actually prioritize it just to get some Cloud, or just some Dragon stacks for your team as soon as possible to get to a better Cloud Soul. They should be putting their focus onto that objective as it does just spawn, but with Canyon and Showmaker coming over the wall, they are going to be spotted here by Piotrek, who says, well, not today, guys. I'm just going to back away.
Meanwhile, up in top lane, you see Doran trying to shove in the wave, has the Iceborne Gauntlet already completed. And this is another one of those builds, Valdez, where I just have to point it out. Sylas, Akali, Ezreal, and Bard all dealing magic damage for the most part. Ezreal deals a small bit, or not a small bit.
1v2.
Okay, well, Bard just got deleted. Take it away, Valdez.
You gotta know that that's what that Aphelios is gonna do, and now they're using so many teleports to just get on in here. Currently turning into a 4-on-3 with a very weak Braum. Will force that flash away, but here comes Chovy. They will definitely look to be turning this one around, but they do have to be a bit careful. Flash over the wall here from Ghost, trying to gain some room. Canyon frontlining, but here's Chovy. Not really able to find that ultimate just yet. He is going to push them away for the damage, but flashes and dies. As Pyosik and Doran trying to make the most of this to try to shore up this fight, as Trundle is actually incredibly strong in this point in time. Uses his flash to desperately try to get the kill onto Nuguri. It is not going to work. Beryl showing up there a little bit late to the party, and, well, at the end of the day, that's a lot used just to collapse here onto the Aphelios that are really beginning to become a problem.
Yeah, Deft, he flashes out of the Bard ultimate, not wanting to immediately get caught up, but honestly, an assassination came in immediately on the backs of Showmaker and Nuguri. Doran trying to do everything that he could. Keria flashes into a stun as Doran tries to dish out as much damage as possible. And then you pay attention here, Pyosik missing a lot of auto attacks, even canceling some. Chovy trying to deal as much damage as he possibly can. Gets clipped by Nuguri for the true damage. Didn't get the Emperor's Divide off probably as quick as he wanted. And then you pay attention to what ends up happening right here, and just a lot of lost opportunity and damage by Pyosik even. And it ends up allowing Nuguri to actually live, get another Haymaker off as well. And DAMWON, they propelled themselves back into this game, but the action doesn't end.
Yeah, they do force that flash away, as Pillar, we are beginning to realize, very much so is extremely effective against the Magical Journey every single time. Beryl forced a flash that time around. The Emperor's Divide, not sure if that was necessary, but it does secure the flash, I suppose. As after that fight, DAMWON have actually caught up a bit here in the gold, and you were talking about how their mid-game composition is quite strong. The only thing that they can't really match here is Deft at this point, because he is just he's sitting pretty with 3 kills and probably a lot of XP on his side. Well, actually, as I say that, I see he's down a level to Ghost, so not 100% sure how that did happen, but that does invalidate that point. As now, finally, they're going to make their way in here to the Cloud Drake and take this one away. Let's see which one it is. It will be a Ocean Soul that does come down here.
I think that's the best possible role for DRX. But even for DAMWON, if they can end up starting to get Ocean Drakes under their belt, clearly they are still extremely far away from a soul capture, but I think it would be much more ideal than an Infernal, because it would be so hard to die as Akali, Set, and Sylas if you end up having that Ocean Soul under your belt. So take a look at the gold difference over time, and there is quite a big sink, as quite a fall off, and that all came from that fight down in bot lane. And don't forget that as this game is going to start going on, the Karma will start getting scarier. Set is probably out of fuel now in terms of future items. He has Black Cleaver and Deadman's, and the Black Cleaver, he's going to apply some armor shred, but everyone on his team is dealing magic damage, which is a bit unfortunate, so it makes even less sense than when the Misfortune was on his team. And now we're entering into the lull state. This is when a lot of champions, they're going to have time to sort of build up resources, intentionally not take team fights. Karma should get to the Athenes. It looks like Trundle gearing towards the Warmogs. Luden's already complete for the Azir, and Aphelios, he's moving towards his 3rd completed item.
Yeah, did complete the 2 right now. We will have to see and observe exactly how much gold he does have in his pockets and how close he is getting to that stage. We haven't seen Ghost be able to do much in this game just yet, but now I think he will be a bit unlocked as he has entered the mid lane And this is when the Ezreal begins to just, chill out there, get a bunch of pokes down, and really control a lot of space with his reach with his kit. So we see that Ghost just really trying to pull that off here in the mid lane for now. Again, not really much going on, as was excellently pointed out by my co-commentator, Lesnek. Did say that, yeah, we are here in the lull state, and the teams aren't really going to butt heads if they don't have a big reason to. We do see that Braum is looking for some kind of flank here, but mostly just chilling out and helping his AoE machine, the AD carry, of course, Deft, push in and take out the turret.
Yeah, they end up raising that turret, and their gold advantage is only at about 1,000. And the next team fight that ends up taking place is really going to dictate the future pacings of this game. Chovy still going to be ways away from any third item completion. Morello completed by Showmaker. And that does mean that he's going to be stuck a little bit as the Akali, at least before this next team fight. Perhaps he can get a stopwatch, most likely, as one of his recipe items that he can try to have. Because otherwise, this team fight should go the way of DRX, the way that things currently do stand. And that's going to be really scary. If DAMWON does in fact lose the next fight in front of the Ocean Dragon, if it goes the way of DRX, they're threatening Soul Point so early on inside of the game, it creates so much pressure.
Yeah, it will be difficult to deal with, and this isn't a Cloud Soul or anything like that. This is big guy Ocean Drake. He just provides so much value to your team, and regardless of what kind of composition you have. It's pretty overtuned at the moment, and so every team is going to be very happy to try to pick up that objective. As, speaking of which, DragonX are really just trying to find whatever value they can before this Drake does come up, as that will be the focal point. You see that Chovy's going to take one last wave up in the top side. He's about to have teleport, whereas Nuguri, who will be matching that push, does himself. And with 40 seconds left, trying to get position there on that Drake, but you'll notice that DragonX don't really have much vision. Just kind of going to have to slowly push in there. There's no, teleport wards really around the area. There's no control wards or any type of vision. And so they will have to just do it the old-fashioned way and slowly push in, I suppose.
10 seconds now until Ocean is going to be up. Doesn't look like Akali did manage to pick up a stopwatch, so item advantage, at least currently, should be considered in DRX's favor. They're holding a Phalanx as they try to approach this area. That could be good for Set, who's looking for a flank. Yoshik actually taking quite a bit of damage. He does have the Warmogs, so we should be able to heal it up. And you can see DAMWON, they are really trying to make something happen here. They get the flash out of Nuguri, who, you can see, he's not autoing the minions because he doesn't want to drop... Oh, well, now he did. He has it. Didn't want to drop the Dead Man's active.
Here we go. The steal is going to be in effect.
Keria?
Keria, a little bit of an awkward spot, but he is a Braum. And all action, thankfully, is avoided.
He used his stopwatch, which was definitely unintentional. You can see Showmaker waiting on the horizon. Everyone on DRX are so clumped up. Pillar comes out.
DAMWON has to be careful about this. They do have a lot of mobility, though, so I suppose they will be okay, even up against Braum Trundle.
Well, this does mean that the game probably is going to enter into yet another standstill. DAMWON, they bought themselves a lot of time by stealing away that Ocean Dragon. The question ends up becoming, though, is what are they going to do with it? So when I mentioned the completion of the Morello, it just means that Akali, it's going to be a while for her to get to her next core item now. Just sitting on the Oblivion Orb, you allocate 1,400 golds towards the upgrade, and it's used to get as much effective stats during this team fight, but now she's going to be ways away from the Zanya's Hourglass, and that does mean that she's going to effectively be the same champion for several minutes. Azir, I believe he's pretty close to getting the Banshee's Veil And obviously Aphelios, pretty close himself to his 3rd completed item. He already has the Hex Drinker as well as the Warhammer, so looks like he's going to be picking up the Maw of Malmortius, I do believe. Nuguri just trying to shove in down here in the bot lane. It might be Warmogs as well for Nuguri. And we just have to wonder what is going to end up happening with lots and lots of ping pong continuing to go on here, because the Aphelios and the Azir, they're scaling up so nicely. The Karma is just going to continue to get more and more supportive items, and that's going to be pretty problematic for DAMWON's hard-on dive.
It absolutely will. Just a little bit more staying power there as on vision come Keria and Pioshik. Spotted out. And yeah, just, okay, well, this is what we were talking about with this. Okay, double teleport. And I don't know if they're even going to be able to get on top of Doran. I feel like he just says, okay, I'll flash away, but that does leave him very vulnerable here to the Bard. He will just stand and hold his ground. But meanwhile, on the other side of the map, remember, they're going up against a Azir here. A 3rd teleport will be used by Nuguri to get in position, and now Deft. They're going to chunk out Beryl, but actually being zoned there for a bit. They're just going to back off of this, as they could have gone for a 50-50, but I suppose they did not want to here, as double Emperor's Divides come in there at the end, and the assassination is going to come through, and DragonX is just being routed entirely by DAMWON with that follow-up play, as they do zone away Deft and get on top of him, and the Baron will be DAMWON.
So the Baron now going over to DAMWON, that was a very interesting Hail Mary attempt on the Baron. You know that that Canyon is in close proximity. They can't even burst it down fast enough. They don't have something like Leandri's or whatnot on Azir giving that extra little bit of damage. He's itemized, very utility focused. He just has the Nashers of Luden's building towards the Banshee's Veil. And Aphelios, yeah, he's really great at shredding it, but it's not quite in time. Teleport came in, as you mentioned, and then it was really easy for all the other DAMWON members to end up getting to the Baron fight and collapsing. And you have to wonder, is it sort of tilt? And it's so bizarre to see it because it's not like their champions scale badly.
No, I mean, they were sitting on Karma, like Karma, Azir, Aphelios. What, you don't have to force really anything. You were gonna get a win, even if the Karma died. I mean, could DAMWON Gaming realistically have gone all the way up to the Baron and taken it away 5v4? Highly doubtful, especially with their composition. But I suppose they thought, okay, well, we have Azir, we have a lot of Baron damage, let's go ahead and take it. And then everything just collapsed after that decision. And now they find themselves in a really horrible spot. They're going to have to wait and sit back to try to scale up here, I'd say probably 10-15 minutes to have a good chance in this one. Whereas DAMWON should have control for a bit with this Baron, as you can see, trying to push in to the bottom side. Now they still have the scaling within their composition, so it's not over yet.
Well, DAMWON, they're going to pick themselves up yet another Ocean Dragon. Don't think there's probably any way, yeah, there's no way actually for them to steal this. And DRX are looking a bit lost in this game right now. They're only down they're only down about 2,000 gold, but it's just a lot of posturing that is necessary, and I imagine that they're going to continue to be reckless moving forward in this game. I mean, Baron, it's almost expired. In that regard, DAMWON, they don't have the best Baron type of team composition, at least not in terms of making use of it. Third items have all sort of come in now at this point. Void Staff completed on the Akali. Warmogs on Nuguri. Blade of the Ruin King there on Ezreal. And now we're just going to continue to keep getting more and more utility items. Zanya's probably going to be completed next onto Canyon. Baron's about to fade out. And DRX, they are still in this game. It's not like they're out of it. But when are they going to actually group together and take a legitimate team fight? That's going to be scary. And like we were mentioning way earlier on, there's a lot of individual playmaking in DAMWON's team composition, in that the Akali in the set can really try to make something happen, and if DRX positions poorly, they could still lose.
Yeah, I mean, they're still going up against a couple of carries that do have a healthy amount of gold in their pockets. And it's partially because DAMWON are so far away from the Ocean Soul that DragonX will have a bit of room to breathe after a couple of very just interesting decisions, I suppose we can call them, on the map. Ghost has been given a new breath of fresh air. He's only 300 gold behind the Aphelios at this point. So will be able to dish out his own fair share of damage. Also picked up the red buff. But yeah, I think we're going to be looking at about 8 more minutes of this. I don't think DAMWON can take a big fight at the Dragon right now and just push it down without Baron and win the game. I think there will be another fight at this next Dragon. And then we'll probably have to wait for the fight for the Ocean Soul, I would imagine. But we'll have to wait and see how clean DAMWON can be from this position, and if they can actually close this one out.
Well, 3,000 gold lead exactly for DAMWON. Baron coming up again in a minute and 20 seconds. And that's going to be the fight that should almost certainly decide the game. I can imagine that the gold advantage that can end up being accrued if DAMWON wins that is more than enough to just eventually close the game. They'll convert into another Ocean Drake that'll bring the game to Soul Point as well. And if they're winning team fights at this stage of the game, things are going to look pretty good. Here we go.
Canyon's just going to do one better, essentially, at the end, but now it's DragonX's turn to call in the teleports. Just the one from Doran, whereas the CD, the cooldown, is up here from DAMWON on all those teleports that they did use earlier on down in the bottom side. So nice little try. Chovy also did have to flash away from that one, but Canyon traded there in the end. And once again, we will kind of just settle back into farming and ping-ponging the lanes.
Well, 1 minute until the Dragon ends up coming up. You can see DRX now posturing on the left-hand side of the map. Ping goes down onto the Azir, down in bot lane. There's another wave coming in. Chovy does have teleport available. Should be able to clear that one out before moving over. As another item, big one, picked up by Deft. Now going to be at 3 of the crit items with the Maw of Malmortius. Really effective against DAMWON's team composition. Mortal Reminder now picked up by Ghost as well, so bit of healing reduction, and there's a decent bit of healing on the side of DRX. Trundle, Karma with that Athene's, and the Ardent Sensor even is there as well. Helios has a bit inside of him, and DAMWON, they could just wait for Ocean Dragon to be up and then use that as a means to pincer DRX, in that DRX can't be walking into DAMWON because it's all too easy for DAMWON to set up flanks and whatnot that can really just break DRX.
Okay, DragonX, they decide, let's not waste any more time. We want to fight right now. And Chovy is going to get in there with a bunch of soldiers and do crazy damage. Yosik out of the fight here. They're trying to burst down the Baron. It's not quite going to get there. As he's slow. Okay, there's that set ultimate into the backline, but he's taking a lot of damage here. The Baron will go the way of Ezreal for his team. And now the chase ability here from DragonX is not great. They do get the root down, but it just does not matter as Ghost is able to flash away. Meanwhile, Showmaker TPing down to the bottom side did try to do a little bit of damage there. They're really trying to pull the map apart as Nuggery also in the top side with the Baron.
I don't even know what DRX is doing right now. They just had 3 members in mid lane. None of them think to move over towards the Ocean Dragon. They know that the other members of DAMWON are recalling. Azir can make his way over. Maybe the argument is that Akali's in the fog of war. Who cares? You have 3 members. You know that other ones are coming off of a recall. You have Vision on Nuggery in top lane. I'm completely, I'm bewildered. Take it away, Valdez.
I think I have to. We're reaching danger LS mauled zone right now, and for a good reason, to be honest. DragonX do not look clean.
Bro,
This is
bro,
part of the
bro,
reason.
bro.
Well, I'm gonna hold that thought as we are getting player voice.
They're saying
싸움
that
싸움
two
싸움
Baron.
싸움.
길 아무도 안 해주는데.
나도
다음부터 쳐줄게 한번. 나 중식에 있다.
별로 안 좋아, 별로 안 좋아, 별로 안 좋아.
Not so great, not so great. The engage, and then they
어,
say
어,
going
어,
to Baron.
빼면서 빼면서.
펄 있어.
빼봐.
Let's get out of here.
야 바텀 텔.
나 봐줘야 돼, 봐줘야 돼. 봐줘.
And you can see,
왜 대박?
from this point, there was no way that Ezreal, Bard, and Silas would ever be able to go to the Ocean Dragon. There was no way from that replay. And it's not like DRX didn't have vision of them. They did. And they sent someone back to deal with Showmaker that was the Azir. They had vision of the set. I'm just speechless. Seeing
Literally
a lot
speechless.
of, I'm literally speechless just seeing the decisions by DRX in this game.
Yeah, we're seeing them, but it's almost like we can't believe our eyes. And what I wanted to say is that I think this is one of the reasons why DragonX kind of fell out of that tier, you know, that S tier of the LCK, and really the only two teams up there are T1 and Gen G. Like, DragonX are so close, and you can see the potential. I mean, Game 1 was a laughable stomp. Like, it wasn't even close. But then they just totally fall apart. And it really does seem to be their mental game that gets out of hand, where they just don't really seem to know what to do. Maybe it's a little bit of tilt, maybe it's a little bit of panic once they get behind, and it has been a weakness of DragonX here in 2020 that has been pretty obvious, as I suppose it does stand to say that, of course, DAMWON does seem to have a knack for taking out very strong teams in recent times. They took out T1, and now they're on the brink of taking out DragonX after that last couple of engagements.
Yeah, and right now, DAMWON, they're up about exactly 6,000 gold. 2.5 minutes until Soul Point comes online. That's going to be the Ocean Soul for them. That's fantastic. And so many things. Yeah, it's absolutely game over, and we can see how hard it is for DAMWON to actually utilize the Baron buff, because there's a lot of wave clear on the side of DRX, and there's not a whole lot of siege on the side of DAMWON. Nuguri actually was pinned there. And no one. Okay, well, I guess that's what happens when you don't have a Philios or a Zir
Yeah. And no
near
vision
the
either.
set. And things are looking really rough. Also, there's a Duskblade of Drakthar on Ezreal, and if that doesn't just encapsulate the series, I don't know what else does.
Yeah. You want to? Do you think? What do you think is his reason for building that in this case over Leandry's, which I assume is your would be your item of choice, or maybe Guardian Angel, or maybe like 7 other items that might be better. But what do you think?
I think Leandry's is probably really good. Ezreal has so many AP ratios. It also just helps him so well. Guardian Angel, obviously, I think is the standard one. Bloodthirster, another item that he could end up picking up in this game here that would just make so much more sense. I really can't think of a reason for the Duskblade, because it's not like you're really going to be utilizing its passive all that often, and so you might just rather have either Edge of Night or Yumu's. But hold on, we got a mini team fight.
Yeah, Nuguri, he's pretty tanky. I mean, this isn't like the set that's going to go into your backline and one-shot someone. This is the set that's going to engage and then survive for a long time, if you guys do take a look at his item build. And while they all try to collapse and use teleports, desperately trying to kill this guy, which actually might happen now, a really fantastic pillar this time around, but it's still taking so long. Look at that massive shield. He's not going to survive at the end, but still just so much used, as Canyon just going to delay the backs. As meanwhile, in the base, okay, with Azir going back, it looks like they will have to back away, but it's 1 kill for the 1 inhibitor. The one in the top lane just barely is going to survive. Could have been 2 inhibitors if if Showmaker did stay. But with the Baron about to be available, I suppose they wanted to be safe. But as I say that, they just push in, take that, and now they can go to this Ocean.
Okay, they're gonna try to pick up this Ocean Canyon. It's not worth losing his life over because Baron is up. And so if he would fail, give that over to DRX, and then he dies, they would certainly then lose the follow-up Baron. That would be really problematic. So both inhibitors just went down. Fortunately for DRX, it's the top inhibitor as well as the mid inhibitor that went down. So they're going to always be able to be in close proximity to the Baron, given that you're always going to have a carry trying to shove back out the top minion wave. And obviously, mid lane is not the end of the world by any means. Redemption comes out in this replay to try to stop Death's Recall. But Nuggery getting pinned again. That was, again, another really great pillar to pin the set. And that Haymaker, 1,203 damage.
That's okay. It's all right. I mean, he's not building damage, by the way. Like, this is...
Yeah, it's pure tank stat.
Yeah, he's still, you know, still able to merely assassinate you just with his pure ability. As now they are going to take this down. The Baron once again looking to turn onto Pioshik. Doesn't quite pan out, and that pillar is really starting to be a thorn in their side.
Triple teleport available though, so there is potential for DAMWON to perhaps front door. Well.
They're pinging it now as the Baron does go down, and now the TPs are going to come out here. They're going to try to delay the backs. It will be up to Showmaker. He's the only one that did go back. As now we do have teleport number 2. Teleport number 3 will be starting to channel. They're going to chunk down this turret, and Showmaker and Ghost alone in the backside with the set, trying to stop them, but they do get the double kill. In goes Canyon, trying to take it down, but he can't get the autos as Nuggery's trying to do it too, but nobody can auto the Nexus. It's going to survive at 66 health. Somehow, some way, DragonX are not going to lose this game just yet.
Oh, if you're Showmaker right now, you have the flash available. He has to... I don't even know what he's thinking. I don't know if the death timers are actually big enough. There's no teleport available. DRX might just run it right up mid lane. And what a ending to this game if this is going to be it. I think it is Valdez.
It is. This is how they lose the game. Oh, that's gotta feel so bad. If they have that win, also they make it into playoffs, and just like that, they're gonna drop it to DragonX with the Baron, who push in to win the game. Little bit of a Emperor's Divide on your Nexus, trying to just show him up, and oh man, I think it was 66 health. Might have been after a tick of regen that it was 66, but we got down to just one auto, and they weren't able to put it home. I don't understand. That's so close.
Take it away, Valdez. I don't... Oh my... I don't remember the last... That is such a close ending. And then again, what a call. We knew that it was maybe coming. When the Baron posturing was happening, they had all the teleports available. The stars aligned for it. And there is a world where things do happen a little bit differently, even in that moment, and DAMWON walks away victorious. If they play that situation, can't even speak, situation out so many different times, Showmaker had flash, and he didn't end up using it, that could have been the difference at the very end. So hopefully he doesn't beat himself up that much. And what an ending. I don't think anyone was really anticipating it to be that close. The Korean casters look a bit amused as well, and I have nothing to say. The DRX, I feel like they really robbed DAMWON here.
They did. They absolutely did. That should have been their game to win, and we're going to see the replay. You see the teleports? I think they could have come out sooner, to be honest.
Yeah. The TPs definitely could have come out sooner, and just take a look at the autos. And Nuggery doing such a good job at locking people up right now. And take a look at Showmaker. He gets hit by the Emperor's Divide. One auto is all that they needed. You can see Bard.
There.
Yeah, Bard even trying to go forward. Kyria doing such a good job too. Everyone trying to get in here. Oh man. I think Nuggery hit it. And you have to wonder if he had a... I don't even know. 36 apparently.
36. Oh boy. I think it was 26 actually. I think I heard it was 26. You have to flash. Now, as you called it, you were like, "Oh man, Showmaker has flash. He is going to be kicking himself." And absolutely, I mean that's rough. And we've seen that play many times before. I think with the double super minion, you got to teleport as 3 as a team right away, and then the other 2 members just go in there and suicide and stop the backs. And with the amount of damage that late in the game, I think he could have just blown it up. But they just like waited until, I don't know, slowly 4 members and then 3 members and then 2 members dogged them down. And it was like a little bit indecisive. And that ended up being the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, what a game too. And the really worrying thing is, remember, this was the start of this game. Deft getting 2 kills, down in bot lane, on the Aphelios. So many things going DragonX's way all throughout the game, and the bottom team fight, it ended up taking place, if you remember that one, that's where everything sort of flipped on its head, and it's really worrying if you are a DRX fan. Because it feels like whenever they're even, or even slightly behind, they really, really crack and don't hold it together. And when Chovy's on these champions that have to make really big outplays or have to be in control of things, sometimes it almost feels like he's a little bit too pressured to do something, and he ends up just completely whiffing.
And we did see a bit of that here today. This is one of those moments where it's like, oh, we're going to have, you know, the double Emperor's Divide. 2-3 members are going to get hit by it, but it just gets really down dirty and messy. And this is one of the fights where DAMWON were actually able to clean up. And you can see Set is a fun champion. He had multiple moments like that. So many calls in this game, like shot calls from both teams were just all over the place, from DragonX, from DAMWON Gaming, and it really showed. There wasn't too many team fights, but when they happened, it was just like very messy.
Well, DragonX, with these type of team compositions, I guess things do get a bit scary for them. Credit to DAMWON, though. Even though they did end up losing, I felt like they played pretty well to come back inside of this game. They did what their team composition needed to do. They kept up the smoke and mirrors at certain points in order to really finagle themselves into advantageous positions. And again, here at the very end, there's a world where Showmaker, you see, is kiting towards the right, towards the Azir. But if he was just kiting towards the left, utilize his flash, he would have been able to get the auto attack off, and DAMWON would have won this game.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, those are the moments that can make the difference between a win and a loss, as we saw in a very literal case in this game.
집만 끊어볼래 아니면?
집 끊어볼래? 야, 탈탈. 아,
Let's
바로
hear what they
먹고.
had to say here, actually.
이거 그냥 해볼게.
야, 집 끊어봐. 집 끊어봐. 집
Try it.
오케이 막을게.
야, 무조건 끊어봐. 무조건 끊을게.
We'll stop
미는 좀.
them, we'll stop.
가자.
나 2주도 텔 타는 게 어때? 못 끊으면?
오케이. 나 텔 탈게.
How about we all
오케이
teleport?
가운데
다 간다.
Everybody's coming.
밀어.
Nice.
넥서스.
제발.
Please.
네트.
이거 쳐라.
Ah!
아, 필이 괜찮았다. 얘네 못 끊네.
텔 빨리 빼.
So, now we're
뛰어야
seeing
돼,
it from
뛰어야 돼.
DRX's perspective.
삼텔이다. 이제 아칼리 지금 버려 세트 무시해. 이거 사이 자 세트 바드
이거 끝낼 수 있나? 끝낼 수 있나?
Nice finish.
텔포 없어 텔포 없어 밀어봐 밀어봐
이쪽으로 가면 게임
내가
끝나.
갈게
Game's over, game's over, game's over.
미드 제발 살려줘
템몇 개?
So,
내가 진막할게 내가
오케이.
I'll cover the base, I'll cover the base.
내가 진막할게
제발.
Please,
진짜.
please.
끝날 수 있나 이거?
안 되더라도 싸워 안 되더라도 싸워야 돼
Can we end? There's some questioning in there as well.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't know.
문대고 타올게 문대고
Obviously, emotions are running extremely high at this point.
엄청 빨라 우리 이거 해.
트레 오른쪽
Really fast.
거리
나 이거 우물에 기름 맞아. 우물에 기름 맞아.
And yeah, I think that
What-
tells the whole story.
One of the things that's so surprising, and I don't mean to take away from the intensity of that situation, is Ghost's perspective. He waited for his teammates to call in the teleport rather than just using F keys. To look at the base and make the decision himself, that was one of the most surprising things for me.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that, like, if those two other teleporters, had they gone even 0.2 seconds earlier, it would have been enough.
Yeah.
0.1 seconds. I mean, it was such a close call that had one person react in even a split second faster, it would have meant the difference between losing and winning the game.
Well, I think Faker would have definitely F-keyed to the Nexus there. He would have been able to see that from everyone's perspective. And speaking of Faker, he'll be coming up in the next series. But player of the game is going to be Keria.
Yeah, I feel like people just didn't really know who to vote for, to be honest. Because the game was so all over the place, and nobody really expected. Like, this is not really a.
Well, I voted for Toby because so many of the Emperor's divides were really clutch. And this one right here, the one that caught Akali, yes, Showmaker had a part in that. Keria obviously was, I believe he was the one really starting to make a lot of these calls in this fight, also blocking the Bard.
He also hopped forward and exhausted Ezreal. So that was definitely a key part. As, okay, 6 out of 9 is going to be the vote there for the Braum.
Well, Valdez here, voting for Pioshik.
Yeah, he had some really good pillars. Either way, I'm going to hand it over to Ji-sun, who's going to give us the translation with Keria.
Congratulations on the win, Keria. How
저희가
do you feel
실수를 많이
right now?
했는데 이렇게
We made
잘
a lot of
이기게 돼서
mistakes.
좋고
However, I'm happy that we were able
개인적으로
to get a
최근에
win.
컨디션도 안 좋고 경기
Recently,
전에
I wasn't
엄청
having the
몸이 안
best condition, and
졌는데
especially today,
MVP 이렇게
I
좀
was
받아서
feeling
좋은
so
것
sick
같습니다.
before the game. So happy that I got 2 MVPs in a row.
속이 그렇게 안 좋았다면서 해서
Yeah, I
혹시
heard you
문제가
were
생기면
feeling sick.
또 저희가 또 양해를 구해야 되는 거라 저는 통보를
So
받았었는데
there
말씀은
could
안
have been a
드렸습니다만
potential
그래도
pause.
잘 극복했어요.
But how did you
일단
overcome
들어가니까
this?
아팠던
How are
게
you feeling
없어졌는데
right
어떻게 된
now?
거예요?
예, 경기 시작하기 전에
Well, before going into
졌는데
game,
이제
I felt really
국경이
bad, but
이거
Deft
뒤에서 이거 해줘가지고
was
이제
keep like
좀
me
더러운 얘기
behind, so I was able
그래가지고
to
좀
like go
속이 편해졌어요.
to like bathroom and throw up a little bit, so I felt much more comfortable right now.
네, 데프트는 뱀픽의 신이기도 하고 뭐 만지만도 쓰고
Well,
엄마 손이기도
I guess
하고
definitely
그렇습니다.
Deft
네.
helped you
자,
out a
이제
lot.
마지막 장면 한번 이야기해 볼게요. 야,
So the last
저희도
game,
오프닝 들었는데 마지막
we
장면
heard
그런
off the
경기가
record the
나오고
mic check,
예상했습니다.
and it was
담원한테
like
기세를
going
뺐다가 담원이 막
wild.
바로 찍었는데
Damwon was trying to Baron, and who made calls at the moment? Game number 3, how did it end exactly?
일단 저희가 초반에 잘
Well,
끌려놓고
we
중후반에 실수를 많이 해서
snowballed really well in the
그
early game, but we
마음속으로
made too many
진짜 힘들겠다
mistakes in mid and
생각했는데
late game, so
마지막에
we
이제
felt it's gonna be really hard. But in the end,
바론 쪽에서 구도가 좀 적게 잡혀서
well, we had a very
진짜
good
마지막이다
positioning
하고
around
싸웠는데
Baron,
갑자기
so we
텔포로
thought
바뀌길래
it was gonna be the last
씨,
chance, and
어떡하냐
then they
하다가
suddenly just went in with TP, so we were like, oh, what should I do? And so we just like, oh, run to the base, and we were able to stop them.
막을 수 있으리라 생각했어요.
Did you think
상대편이 좀
that you could
날카롭게 막
just
전환해서
like
들어오니까 뭐 너구리가
secure your
막
nexus?
그럴 때 솔직히 막을 자신
were you like
있었으니까
100% confident?
일단 세트 아칼리
Well,
혼자 타워 칠 때 막을 수 있다
when
생각했는데
Akali was the only player hitting the turret, we were quite confident. And then Ezreal and Seth joined Akali, so I was like, oh, this is a huge, this is a big deal. What should we do? We're gonna lose, and then suddenly we were able to kind of protect it.
아마 바드 평타 한 대면 깨졌을 것 같던데.
I mean, one Bard auto could have just broke the Nexus.
바드와 막판 대결 어땠습니까, 진짜?
Yeah, how was that final fight against Bard?
그때 내가 바드만 막으면 이긴다.
Were you sure that if I just
네.
block Bard, you're gonna win?
이길 것 같았어. 네? 네.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. Yeah, if I can block Bard, yeah, maybe we could win.
흥분 상태인 것 같아요. 예. 자, 그래서 이렇게 승리를 거둬서 정말 대단한 경기를 만들어냈습니다. 와, 진짜 오늘 뭐 명승.
So it was an awesome game today, especially Chovy's Azir was very unexpected. So what was the plan in taking that champion for today's game? So recently, strong teams were preferring Azir in mid lane, so we thought it was on the top, on the tier list, and Chovy is good at any kind of champions. So we practiced Azir a lot during the scrims, or maybe a little bit. So it was his first Azir game, but it was not as clean as we expected, but you guys went back to Azir for the next game as well. Well, Chovy and all the other players, we like Azir, and he was also confident on the champion. So if you are confident, just play it. So we just don't really pay too much attention about it. We were just focusing on our own performance.
자신 플레이에 신경을 쓰는 것 같아요. 그렇습니다. 예. 오늘 이제 캐리아의 쓰레쉬 챔피언 16개 중으로 가장 넓은데.
So you played 16 different champions so far, and your performance and Thresh was also on point. What's your favorite champion in general? Well, in competitive games, I like Thresh the most. What about in solo queue or your personal favorite? I'm not sure about my recent thought, but last year and earlier this year, I like Lux the most, but after the game on Lux in round 1, not anymore. And I heard also a boiled egg company sent a box of boiled egg to Doran. But I heard the expiration date is not long away. Are you guys having it all day? Well, it's piled in our gaming house, and I saw a lot of players eating it during the practice. So, with taking down DAMWON Gaming, you guys picked up the 12th win of the split. So how are you gonna wrap up the remaining of the split? So yeah, we thought that if we win DAMWON from the 3 remaining series, we knew that we will be able to kind of maintain the momentum. So I'm really happy that we were able to pull it off. And I know that we cannot make it to first and second place by ourselves, so we are wishing for the teams in the higher rank to just fall down a little bit. And we will just do our best to improve our own performance and prepare for the playoffs. So that will be the end of the interview with Kyria from DRX, and I'm going to pass it back to our casters. Thank you. Congratulations once again for the solo POG interview.
Well, thank you, G-Sun, for the wonderful translation, as always. And it was good to hear from Kyria in a solo interview. You could tell he had a little bit of the jitters, of course, being in front of all those people, giving the interview online, but he seemed very well spoken and smart, and obviously a fantastic player. We're all big fans of what he's able to do there from the support role, so really cheering for him and see how they do after pulling off this insane win from behind up against DAMWON, but it's going to help out their seeding for sure. The real question is about DAMWON now, because they're 8-9. They only have one more game to win. And if they're 8-10, I believe there is still a chance that every other team does go 8-10. KT, Afrika can also go. I suppose Helma Life is also in the mix there for 8-10 possibility. And if that happens, they would have to win tiebreakers. So they would absolutely try to get that last win in hopes of making it into playoffs, Celes.
Well, we'll see what does end up happening. There's only a couple of matches remaining. Match 81 coming up next. It's the Telecom War. T1
yep, the Telecom War
versus KT. Take it away, Valdez.
Sorry, I really wanted to take it away from you there. So thank you for handing it off to me. And no time for you to take it away either. So guys, we are going to have a 30-minute break. When we do come back, the Telecom War will be here as T1 does face off against KT, and we'll see you then.